Hi, Alice Wheaton here. Thanks for joining me again. Today we're going to talk about how to speak the language of the listener. Now, that's a difficult one to do because we want to speak a language that's familiar and comforting to ourselves. And when you're in the sales trenches, it's competitive enough without confusing your client. And this, by the way, is one of the most difficult languages that I've had to learn. I'm working with a coach, I think as most professionals do or should, if I can show it on you for a moment. I'm working with a coach right now, and no matter what I do for my clients, I run it past him because he's always going to say, is it the language of your client? And so when you're talking to a CEO, if I were to say, what do you do? I would say, I help sales people increase their sales performance. That is not the language of the CEO, because the CEO has got a 5-year plan and a long vision and for the entire company. So if I'm focusing on just sales, that's just one division of the company. But if I'm able to say, I help you increase your top line revenues, because the CEO is responsible for the top line. And the top line, of course, is a term that comes from when we present our financial statements to Revenue Canada or IRS or whatever your governing body is around taxation. Then the typical very top line is revenue. How much money came into your company that particular year? Not how much you saved, but how much money you came in. And so that includes the amount came in and the margins. And so when I say I increase top line revenues, that's all I need to say. The CEO gets it. But the sales manager might need an entirely different conversation because they're interested in, well, can I increase the knowledge and the skills of their sales team? Because the sales manager is thinking, well, if she increases the knowledge and skills of my sales team, then we'll be on budget this quarter. Or I'll make my bonus at the end of the year. Their vision, their economics about this year. The economics of a CEO is, what can she do to grow my company so that it meets my 5-year goal? And then, of course, the language for a salesperson is different again. It's help you meet your sales budget. So I'm going to help you meet your sales budget this month. Now I'm speaking powerfully to the salesperson. So you see that when we're talking about what it is that we do, when someone says, well, what's your elevator pitch? I kind of get annoyed with that because the elevator pitch is one comment or statement that people make to demonstrate or explain what they do, such as, I book magnificent trips around the world for my clients. Well, that's a elevator speech. But an elevator speech has got to be focused to the various level of the organization. So first of all, when someone says to me, well, what do you do, Alice? I say, well, what's more important? But more important, of course, is what do you do? And he says, I'm the CEO of a technology company. Then I know I'm going to say this. I help technology companies increase their top line revenues, and we do it quickly and efficiently. That resonates with that person. But if they say, well, I'm a manager at a XYZ company, then my elevator pitch or what I say is different there. So when someone asks you what your elevator pitch is, stop for a second, find out what they do. Because if you provide an elevator pitch that's not in alignment with what their hearers will hear, it falls on deaf ears. So speak the language of the listener. And besides, when someone says to me, what do you do? I always switch it over and say, well, before I tell you that, tell me a little bit about yourself. And if there's time, then I'll see if what I do fits for someone like you. Always be willing to speak last, and the person who speaks last actually makes the greatest impression. Thanks for being with me here today. I appreciate it, and see you next time.